What's up? What's up? What's up? How's it going? Hope you're all doing well on this fine Monday afternoon. Man, the world continues to get crazier and crazier every single day. Or it was always crazy and we just right now are acknowledging it. The craziness. Oh, world. There we go. Yeah. What's up? Jalapeno milk? How goes it, my friend? Boom. I lowered myself down. It goes, doesn't it? The world continues to revolve around the sun, this globe that we're on. Oblong sphere continues to revolve around the world despite the craziness. The sun comes up the next day. In the words of Annie the orphan, the sun will come up tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow. What? Give me a corroborating source, and we'll get you on for an interview. I somehow don't think it's true, though. Yeah. We're going to talk about Marvel and Disney today, eventually. I'm going to wait till a few more people get the opportunity to come in, as I don't want to have to explain things twice. Twitter is always truthful. Twitter is the most amazing platform that has ever existed. I enjoy using it. I enjoy saying things on it. I enjoy reading what people say. Please don't be on me, Twitter. I really care about using your platform. Really, the only thing that I use Twitter for is to communicate with people through direct messages. So, we're being completely honest. I'm back. Yikes, man. I honestly don't know what the world is coming to, but it seems like it gets crazier every single day. I don't like how low I am. There we go. That's better. Just be like, way down here. Hi. No, I need to look powerful, tall. Yeah, Disney news. We've got Disney news of all sorts. First of all, Disneyland has added stuff to the Snow White ride, the classic Snow White ride in Fantasyland. The ending of the movie, where the prince actually kisses Snow White, waking her up from her death-like slumber and saving her life. I'm afraid of clicking on this if you really sent me something. Let me see. And of course, woke activists are pissed off about that. They say it's that's funny, dude. Yeah, they're mad. They're mad about it. Gina Carano back to Mando, or is that it ain't gonna happen, dude. It ain't gonna happen. Disney doesn't care. Gina Carano doesn't matter as long as these clowns continue to pay them money. And I say clowns because I don't actively pay Disney money. I don't pay for Disney Plus. I don't pay for Hulu. I don't pay for new Disney movies and products. I don't go to the movie theater and see them. Because only clowns complain about, in my opinion, only clowns go on the internet, make videos about how terrible Disney and Marvel are, and then continue to pump money into those corporations. A clown, that's what a clown does. That's what a clown does. A clown continues to buy DC Comics and Marvel Comics after they started channel saying how terrible those comics are. Oh, but then I couldn't do the channel anymore. The big news about Disney, the biggest news of all, is that they have a ethnic Chinese woman, Chloe Zhao, directing the Eternals movie, and she just won the Academy Award for Best Director for a film which I have not seen called Nomadland that I have no intention of watching. But Chloe Zhao, congratulations to her. She won that Academy Award. I am sure she deserved it. I'm sure that it is not 2 years in a row with Asians winning it because they were the best and made the best films. What a down year. I mean, considering how few movies came out this year, one would have to sort of be like, yeah, I want it in a real bad year when nothing came out. Anyways, Chloe Zhao won the Academy Award. I don't know. Maybe she deserved it. I don't know, man. Is Nomadland romanticizing homeless people? Wouldn't be the first time a movie did that. The Fisher King. You ever seen that with Robin Williams and Jeff Bridges? Fisher King. That's another one. I think it's a Terry Gilliam movie. It's not good. It's not a great film. Some people are like, oh, I love it. Terry Gilliam's amazing. No, it's lame. It's one of those Robin Williams ones where he's all crazy and manic, but the character's not compelling. So I haven't seen Nomadland. Can't comment on it. Don't know. All I know is that Frances McDormand, is that her name? She's one of the Coen brothers' wives. I don't know which one. She went up and when she won her award, and she was like, arr, 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 arr. Don't know what that was about. Didn't watch Academy Awards. Just saw those clips of Glenn Close shaking her butt and Frances McDormand howling like a wolf. Was that the case? Jeez. Don't care. Whatevs. When she leave here, she gonna leave with half, right? In the words of Jamie Foxx in a Kanye West song, holla, we want prenup. We want prenup. It's something that you got to have, because when she leave, she gonna leave with half. Right, so Chloe Zhao, ethnic Chinese woman. I have nothing against the woman. Don't care that she's directing a Marvel movie, Marvel Eternals. I have no interest in watching it ever. Maybe he'll start dancing like he did on the stage back in the 90s, where he's like... Anyways, Chloe Zhao, Eternals, you get the point. No one cares about the Eternals. They probably won't care about it even after the movie comes out, because who cares about Marvel anymore? Man, honestly, guys, stop going to see these movies. Now, here's what happened. Yeah, Glenn Close, about 30 years after her prime, 40 years later. Yeah, I mean, they've changed characters' ethnicities and genders and all kinds of things in the Eternals, but nobody cared about that to begin with. So anybody that's like, I'm mad, they've ruined everything for Marvel. You're a big Eternals fan? Anyways, that's beyond the point. So Chloe Zhao won the Academy Award, and you'd think, man, the Chinese Communist Party would be all over that. They'd be super excited. Man, ethnically Chinese woman, parents that are rich and influential in China. What does that mean? You know, business people in China. Her mother-in-law's a famous comedian and actress in China. You think, man, they'd be celebrating it. Ooh, she got canceled. She got canceled by the Chinese Communist Party. So Chloe Zhao, ethnic Chinese woman that lives in the United States, resides here, no plans really to go back to China. She got hired by Disney to direct the Eternals movie. And then she got canceled by the Chinese government. Why did she get canceled? Because she said in an article years ago, like 6 or 7 years ago, I don't remember exactly, it might have been 8, that when she grew up, she wanted to be a director because she wanted to tell the truth, and there were so many lies in China. It's like, oh no, you can't say that. You can't say anything bad about China. So here's Disney, and they've put themselves in this position where they now have to decide between, do we fire the Chinese woman that got canceled by the Chinese Communist Party, who is not even allowed for people to post about her on Chinese social media? Do we fire her and hire somebody else and then still get our movie seen in China? Or do we give into the woke side of things because we want to be diverse, and we're having a Chinese woman direct a film, a big budget film? So they're between a rock and a hard place here, Disney. They have Minecrafted themselves pretty hard with this one. You know that meme where the guy has the two choices, and he's got the red buttons and the two choices that he's got to choose between? That's basically the situation Disney's in, where they have to decide between, do we want to make hundreds of millions of dollars in China with our Marvel movie Pandering garbage? Or do we want to be woke? We'll see what happens, but it's just hilarious, man. Absolutely hilarious. It's one of these times that where I'm so intrigued to see what happens. I'm looking forward to seeing what choice Disney makes. You know, and there's always the chance that she could be uncanceled by the Chinese Communist Party, because they change their mind all the time. They're constantly, I mean, it's like Orwell's 1984, right? We never believed that. We'll never believe that. We've always been at war with this other country, and they've always been evil. And then the next day that you're allies, oh, we've always loved them. We've never been at war with them. That's basically the Chinese Communist Party's MO, is to just change their minds. The Ministry of Truth directly from China. And what's even more blatantly propaganda is that in their versions, so if you don't know, China has state-run media, and some of those state-run media corporations are for foreign consumption, so not in China, but they're propaganda wings of the Chinese Communist Party. And then they have ones that are specifically for China. Well, in the propaganda pieces meant for the world's consumption, they're like, oh man, Chinese woman wins Academy Award, but in their own state-run media, nope, no, nothing, can't mention her because she once said something bad about China. I don't know who that was. Actually, I think I have heard that name, but I don't really know. Just wait till they get on the Woke-tastic 4. How do you know it's going to be woke? How do you know? Man, it makes you long for the days of crappy Marvel movies made by other companies other than Disney. Is that true? Is that true, Milky Man? You say so, man. Yeah, so Disney has basically put themselves in the Kobayashi Maru, a no-win situation. Either they lose, I mean, honestly, there's little backlash. Like, woke people don't SJWs don't buy tickets. Nobody's going to care. The masses are still going to go, in the United States, are still going to go and see the Eternals, whether or not Chloe Zhao directs it. But it is bad PR for them among the woke. And they're afraid of the woke, but only to a certain point. So my guess is that they'll be like, oh, it just didn't work out, creative differences. And then Chloe Zhao will release a statement saying something like, this was totally amicable. We couldn't agree on things, blah, blah, blah. Let's see how far it is into pre-production before, let's see, oh man, it's filming. Yikes. Already had filming. That doesn't mean that they won't redo it. We know that because of Solo. But yeah, it's supposed to be released November 5th. Yikes, man. I don't know what they're going to do. China may not even allow them to release it. They didn't see this one coming, I guess. I guess they got to hope that China uncancels her by then. Or, I don't know. I mean, I would imagine she's part of the Directors Guild, so they can't exactly remove her name from the credits. I don't know. They have certainly beclowned themselves this time. She could be, I mean, it could be a good movie. She could be a great director. I've never seen any of her films. I have no idea if they're good or not. No idea if Chloe Zhao is a good filmmaker, if her films are entertaining, if they're meaningful. Don't have any clue. But I do know that the Chinese Communist Party is very fickle. And they could change their mind tomorrow. But they could also prevent Disney from releasing it in China. And then people will just pirate it, because that's what happens to movies in China. If they don't get official releases, they just get pirated. China constantly steals people's trademarked images, their IPs, constantly infringing on that stuff, constantly pirating things, constantly making knockoffs. That's just a fact. So, Disney, not going to work out this time, possibly. I'll be right back. I'm back, sort of. I'm still doing something. But I didn't want people to leave. Oh, he's not here. We've come in and now he's gone. I know I'm getting old when I get these like crazy eyebrow hairs. So I don't know what Disney's going to do. I don't know what Disney's going to do, but it is certainly possible that things are not going to go so great for them. Oh, there's two of me. we've holy cow, that looks terrible. My word. What is wrong with the webcam? If I just switch to another camera here. Take off the color correction. Oh my word, that looks terrible. It still looks bad, but not as bad, maybe. I have no idea why it looks so awful. Look how red everything looks. I look like a ghost. I think you're confused about my sex. I'm not a woman. Just so you didn't know. I mean, that's not clear. Oh, let's see. All right, muting myself. All right, guys, I'll take a short break from this live stream, and I will be back. Boom. I'm back. I'm back with a non-jacked up colored webcam. I have no idea what was like that. It wasn't like that last time I used it, which was like this morning or something. I think it's a little bit laggy. Maybe not. All right. What were we talking about before we were so rudely interrupted? Just kidding. What? How dare you, General Grudge? I am more than a talking head. I have arms and legs as well. I have an entire body. Thank you very much. Yeah. I have an entire body. It's true. It's true. I have no idea. What were we talking about? Chloe Zhao, Eternals, Disney. Absolutely messed themselves over. So, China, bad. Disney, bad. You gotta go, Jeff Potts. What? What? Already? You just got here. Come on, man. Come on, man. Corn Pop. If you guys haven't subscribed to my new channel, it's great. Everybody loves it. It's the best channel of all time. Let's see how it's doing today.
I'm sure Penelope won't care what your hair looks like.
As Nighthawk Warrior would say, 6 people watching, only 4 likes? Wow. What's up, P-Money? Man, I have no idea what is going to happen with this whole Eternals thing. But basically, China could tell Disney no. You can't release it here. Or there could be a huge backlash if China tells their people to hate it. No, don't dislike. Don't do it. Disney. I'm sure Chloe Zhao deserves to make great films. I'm sure she's fantastic and everybody loves her movies. However, they tried for a twofer on this one. They're like, this girl's gonna, this woman, she's getting there's a lot of clout. A lot of stuff going around that she's going to be really good at win awards and stuff. This movie's really great, so we should get her because she's also Chinese. She's also Chinese. So we can cater to China and we can cater to the woke people at the same time for diversity hire. Look, like I said, I don't know if she's a good filmmaker or not. I haven't seen any of her films. I have no opinion on whether or not she's a good filmmaker. I'm saying I don't trust Disney to have made a decision based on what they thought, only on what they thought would be best for the audience, never to be what was best for the audience. But I don't believe them to have made that decision without considering. Do I want anything from World Market? Got plenty of Vegemite. I don't know. Let's see if anybody else has any recommendations. Yeah, I don't really care about rumors about that kind of thing. That's what somebody... Jalapeno Milk said that as well. I think it would be to Gina's detriment to go back. Considering how they're said to have treated her, there's no expectation that it would be better. Considering what she said about their treatment of people, I don't think they have bagel bites at World Market. Nobody else could play that character. Like, even, no offense to Gina Carano, who's really tough. Even she is barely believable in that role. Only because she's really muscular for a woman. But not overly muscular. Still feminine, I guess you'd say. But yeah, Disney doesn't make these decisions based on what's best for the audience, what's best for the universe or the movies. They make it for what's best for their pocketbook, for their wallet. Yeah, you agree, buddy? He's got a dog bone, and he put his alphabet letters for his puzzle in the dog bone. And he's carrying it around. Yep, that's a bone. She's really good at acting compared to LeBron James. I mean, I don't plan on watching Space Jam. I never did, by the way, even before any of the whole LeBron James being a clown stuff. Tweeting out idiotic things about police officers. Even before that, I've not been a fan of LeBron James for many years. And when it was first rumored that he would be in a Space Jam sequel, I said, I'm never going to watch that. No plan. You should try out the Archaven.com new webcomic site and do a review. I don't like Archaven Comics. I'm sorry, the General. I don't like Vox Day. It has nothing to do with the typical Comicsgate stuff. It's totally religious. So, I'm fine with Chuck Dixon working with him. I'm fine with whoever else that wants to work with him. I personally don't want to put money in the hands of someone who I find to be reprehensible, totally theologically, by the way. Don't care if he's had any beef with anybody. Don't care if some people like him and some people don't. It's entirely religious. But that being said, guys, if you like Chuck Dixon, he makes comics on that website. So go check it out. Yeah, I haven't seen the trailer. All right, it's free. No ads. I also thought that the art from what I saw in the Dixon books that I saw was not great. I have read some of them on Webtoons. I don't know. Didn't get very far. But I'll check it out for General Grudge. What? A bruise on her face, a friend... Oh my word! A friend asked if P Money did it. Is that your reputation? Oh my word. My wife responded, I can take him. Yeah. I'd be worried. If you had hit your wife, that'd be terrible. 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 Space Jam's trailer was so cringe. Haven't seen it. Never gonna watch it. Unless someone inserts a clip into something otherwise not about the new Space Jam movie, I'll never see any clips from it. I have no plans to ever watch it or anything associated with it because I have hated LeBron James for many years. Well, that's fine. Doug can make his own decisions, but I would certainly never be involved with Vox Day. For religious, theological reasons. A lot of people out there want to cancel people for not liking individuals. I don't know if not liking Vox is a big deal, but it has nothing to do with anything other than theological reasons. He's an open theist. He's an open theist heretic. He doesn't believe that God knows the future. I see that as a heresy and an attack on the fundamental nature of God. Therefore, I don't wish to enrich the man. And he's also directly, I mean, not directly like me personally, but he also wouldn't like my beliefs, that's for sure. Wouldn't see me as within the faith. So why should I see him? Oh, you cancel for liking him, not the other way around? Whew. But I don't care about any of the usual reasons for not liking him. The little guy's going like this in the background. I don't know the open theist interpretation of the Book of Revelation, to be honest with you. I'm not that well versed on it. But generally, they would say that prophecies are guesses. That God is basically smart enough to make a very educated guess based on his ability to have all of the knowledge that he could possibly know right now, but nothing about the future. So basically, he's like, well, I think this is what's going to happen. Well, you want to read Dr. Seuss? This is going to get me canceled, buddy. Dr. Seuss's ABC. Big A, little a, what begins with A? Aunt Annie's alligator. A. Big B, little b, what begins with B? Barber, baby, bubbles, and a bumblebee. Big C, little c, what begins with C? Camel in the ceiling, C. Big D, little d, what begins with D? Donuts and a duck dog, D. Big E, little e, what begins with E? Ear, egg, elephant, E. Big F, little f, what begins with F? 4 fluffy feathers on a pfeffer. Big G, little g, what begins with G? Goat and goo goo goggles, G. Big H, little h, what begins with H? Hungry horse, hen and hat, H. Big I, little I, what begins with I? Itchy Ichabod, I. Yep. Big J, little j, what begins with J? Jerry Jordan's jelly jar, J. This next letter is going to get me canceled, but we've got to read it because it's part of the book. Big K, hey, buddy. Big K, little k, what begins with K? Kangaroo and kite, K. Big L, little l, what begins with L? Lion with a lollipop, L. Big M, little m, what begins with M? We're not finished? Okay, you just had to get me canceled to read through K? Oh, okay. Let me see. You disagree with my understanding of Vox's theology. I mean, he's written a book about open theism. So, I mean, I don't understand. His defense of the problem of evil, his response, or his apologetic for the so-called problem of evil, and for his book called The Irrational Atheist, is predicated around the idea of open theism. So I don't... Unless he's changed his view on that, which I have not heard. Now, if you don't think it's heresy, I guess that's your right. But at some point, you got to draw the line somewhere about God's eternal nature and who is God. And I see that as a pretty big deal. What self-fulfilling prophecy, P-Money? Fake. You've read him for literally 25 years. Okay, did you read The Irrational Atheist? I mean, I've read him talk about open theism. That's a huge defense that he has for the problem of evil. If you can provide me a response. I'm wrong? Okay, man. I guess that's my right to be wrong. If you're saying he's not an open theist, then I... Okay. Anyways, he never took an interest in hearing Vox day out simply just by knowing JDA was one of his acolytes. Don't know that to be the case. Literally don't know anything. The only reason I know about Vox Day is because of the theological things he says and has said. And I found out about that stuff before he was before he was even involved in things like Sad Puppy's campaign about science fiction and fantasy, which would have been where I first found out he was involved in sort of pop culture stuff. Let's see. Oh, is there lag? P Money says, I'm open to theism. Does that make me an open theist? No. No. I don't know, man. I've read one JDA thing and didn't care for it. That's my opinion of JDA. I read about one of his books, didn't care for it, didn't want to read anything else. Okay, cool, man. If you'd like to, and if he says no, ask him what his view of God's knowledge of the future is, because I'd like to know. I'd like to be corrected. I mean, I've found. I mean, I have to go through these and read these. But let's see. If he doesn't come down directly, here's something he said. I see far more intellectual humility and civility on the part of the open theory advocates than I do on the part of their opponents, whose actions reflect the same sort of anger and fear that one usually sees in those who doubt their own position. This is another factor that makes me more sympathetic to the open side. And I mean, the criticisms that he uses, I would say, don't just make him sympathetic to it, but actually advocate for it. Although I refuse to take a firm stand on it. Okay, there you go. He refuses to take a firm stand on it. Because regardless of what evangelical tradition or my reason might say, it's impossible to know the answer. I guess that there you go. If you can't make it a definitive answer upon whether or not God knows the future, I'd still say, So I guess there you go. No need to ask him. But using theism in an apologetics books against atheism is a step. But it's not mere theism that we're criticizing here. It's open theism. Open theism is a philosophical and theological perspective that God does not know the future. It's not talking about bare theism or making a theistic case for the existence of God like John Lennox or C.S. Lewis or somebody or Aquinas. It's talking about a specific belief about the knowledge of the future. And from what I just read there, he's more sympathetic to that side. That's what he said. And I mean, you can read through it and say, well, does he actually believe in open theism? He certainly operates like he does. He's spent a lot of time over the years talking about it. Maybe not recently, but a lot of this stuff is dated from back when I first heard about him, 2011, around in there. Anyways, I don't really have much more to say about Vox Day. Apples, ball, flower, comb and brush, sneakers, bananas, mittens, chair. We're reading another book. Bowl, teddy bear. What's that? Eggs, airplane. There you go. Right. So, open theism, I'm not a fan of it. Not a fan of people that, especially like the wishy-washy, like, well, I'm more sympathetic to it. What is that supposed to mean? I'm sympathetic to this position. What do you believe? Well, I don't want to be arrogant. Vox Day, we're talking about arrogance? Okay. Again, that's the only thing I'm criticizing. JDA's Deus Volt, colored by Matt Kratz, is on Arcaven. I've heard the colors are real good. I'm going to look it up. I once tried to read one of, and this comes down to personal taste. And this is before, I guess it would have been after. It was around the same time. I was like, oh, I'll read one of his fiction books. This was before everybody hated Vox Day. Or a lot of the internet. Obviously not everybody hates him. I'm not seeing it. Maybe I'm on the wrong website. Anyways, the point is, I read one of his fantasy books and I found it not good. Well, Disney, here's what Disney did, Edwin. Disney hired an ethnic Chinese woman named Chloe Zhao, who just won the Academy Award for Best Director for her film Nomadland. They hired her to make the Eternals movie. Right? So they're like, oh man, this will be great for the Chinese audience. She's probably going to win some awards this year, which she did. This will be fantastic. Give us all these woke points, and will also pander to the Chinese. And then the Chinese canceled her for comments she said a number of years ago about China being a place with a lot of lies. So now Disney has a dilemma. If China still wants to cancel Chloe Zhao, as they've banned the use of her name on social media and are scrubbing their social media platforms from mentions of her. They're banning hashtags with her name in them or her initials. So it's possible that China could not allow that film to be shown, just as it did not show her film Nomadland that won the Academy Award. Has still not been shown in China. That's the one I read, General. Didn't care for it. I just didn't. I'm sorry. And honestly, I read Brandon Sanderson, who is far more heretical, holds way more heretical beliefs as a Mormon than Vox Day does as an open theist. So it has nothing to do with whether or not they hold the same theological positions as me. J.R. Tolkien is a Catholic. I'm a staunch Protestant. So it has nothing to do with the theological things. I just honestly, I owned it on Kindle back in the day, and I could not get into it. It was an interesting premise, which is why I got it. I thought it was a really interesting premise. I was like, oh man. And then I couldn't get into it. So, yes, Chloe Zhao is doing Eternals. Oh man, her Vosge, you cracked me up. So China, the second biggest movie market, second only to North America. Yeah, basically they are now in a dilemma where they could potentially not get that film shown in China. So they're Chinese pandering and simultaneously pandering to the woke crowd who wants diversity to rule who directs these films. And look, I haven't seen any of her movies. I don't know if they're quality or not. I know, General, you're a fair guy. You know, I don't even like Steven Anderson, so. He wouldn't like me either, believe me. So, I think so, Edwin. I mean, I think that's a legitimate criticism. I think he does position himself. But my criticism of him doesn't really have to do with his use of pop culture to promote his ideas or anything. It's basically just with the theological ideas himself, which General Grudge challenged me on, and I looked it up. I think we were both sort of right and both sort of wrong in that I claimed Vox Day was an open theist, and he definitely has pushed open theist beliefs, which I see as a heresy, but he says that he's sympathetic to the idea of open theism. But he does not, nowhere that I found in my 2 minutes of searching did I find where he said specifically that he was an open theist. So, still up in the air. That's my criticism. I honestly, other than that, the only thing I know of him was basically that, and then you guys are familiar with the Sad Puppies campaign that Larry Correia, another Mormon author, who I read his books, that he started, where they were trying to fight back against woke politics stuff, SJW stuff in the science fiction and fantasy genres. And Vox Day was involved in that. I know nothing about his involvement in Comicsgate other than that there was some hullabaloo about he owned the comics book, comicsgate.com or something. I honestly have no idea. Let's see. Yeah, but that creed doesn't say anything about God's knowledge of the future. That's the problem. I'm not saying he doesn't hold to some orthodox views. I'm saying I think that view necessarily leads someone to heretical positions. And I think it's at best, it's a heterodox position that presents huge problems with one's theology. I think that could be said about a lot of people in comics, though, Edwin. Or private label publishing. Um, so, like I said, the reason I know about Vox Day is his theological beliefs, like the book The Irrational Atheist and stuff. And then later, I found out, a little bit more about him when the whole Sad Puppies thing happened, and he wrote that book about SJWs. What's it called, General Grudge? Oh, SJW is always lie or something. I think that's what it is. But honestly, oh yeah, he's a real smart guy. He's a good writer. Of nonfiction, those things are compelling that he writes, but the only fiction I read of his did not care for. Is that true, P Money? I purposely try to know as little information about Comicsgate as possible because I've never considered myself, been a part of, or advocated for, or on, or against Comicsgate. I try to be Switzerland. I honestly do not care. I stopped reading comic books a decade ago now. New weekly comic books. I stopped reading those a decade ago. So Comicsgate is pretty much irrelevant to me. I never cared about, obviously I complain sometimes about stupidity, like putting Jordan Peterson as the Red Skull. So I think that's dumb. But I stopped buying those things 10 years ago. It's totally irrelevant to me. Let's see. Edwin says, I'm from a long line of Protestants. Though, so I'm sola scriptura, which would be heretical to many. Yeah. Heretical to Roman Catholics or to Mormons or people that otherwise hold there to be something equal with the scripture that is binding. In the case of Roman Catholics, that would be tradition, the tradition of the church. And then, of course, with Mormons, the Book of Mormon, Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. But, yeah, I don't think there's anybody that would mistake me for something other than a traditional Protestant. I do feel compelled to make traditions a point of contention when they contradict scripture. So I would say that Orthodox Christians and Roman Catholics do not have the gospel, that the Church of Rome does not teach the gospel, and anyone that believes the Church of Rome believes what they teach about the gospel, understands and believes it, will not inherit the kingdom of God. Let's put it that way. And yeah, but I'm certainly glad to read their books on occasion. What's interesting is to me is most of the time it's the people who are the closest to me in terms of beliefs that hold views that I think are heretical, that I want to be associated with the least. I think they're the most dangerous. The so-called universal churches that contradict the word of God for their traditions are just like the Sadducees and Pharisees of Jesus' time. Yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities there. Jesus criticized raising tradition to the level of Scripture. And the thing about the Roman Catholic Church is that it goes beyond just some like stylistic differences or different beliefs about where do you derive your theological beliefs. Is it just scripture? Is it scripture and tradition? To a level where you basically have a church that says you must believe by faith that Mary was immaculately conceived, that she was sinless, and that she was bodily assumed into heaven in order to be saved, among other things. And the Apostle Paul says in Galatians, if you add one thing to the gospel, you lose it all. He said, if you add circumcision, that's it, just circumcision and faith, but you got to be circumcised too. Where does it stop is basically the question. Where is the dividing line between what is orthodoxy and what is not? If they have to tell me I have to believe teachings that do not find their origins in scripture in order to be saved, that a lot of arguments can be made found their origins not in the tradition of the church fathers, but in the tradition of the Gnostic heretics, I have real trouble with that. Now, my Catholic viewers, I welcome you. But just like I did a stream not too long ago where we ended up talking about Mormonism for a really long time, I care about you. And I believe that if you believe in what these churches teach, excuse me, you will wind up in an eternity separated from God. An eternity in hell. I do not think that the Mormon Church can save. If anyone is a true Christian that is a member of the Mormon Church, it is in spite of the Mormon Church's doctrine that they are saved. And the same goes for the Roman Catholic Church. Jehovah's Witness. Yeah, honestly, I have no, Hervoge, I don't know anything. I barely know anything about that group of people. I don't know why it tried to hide your comment, General, but I approved it. There are many Catholics that I believe are good Christians because they believe in Christ, but I do not view the Catholic Church as Christian anymore. Let's see. Yeah, I just don't follow it. Honestly, like, I'm not going to lie. I have seen videos from people talking about it or tweets from time to time, but I found out early on, I did not want to, I wasn't interested in it, in that stuff. In Comicsgate or War Campaign or any of that stuff, that it just wasn't meant for me. Wasn't something I wanted to know anything about. But I think you're probably right. Unfortunately, what seemed to be yeah, let's see. How many years is it now? Like what? Whenever, I think that one of the first things I saw was so a friend of mine got Bigfoot Bill in the mail. I was like, oh man, that looks awesome. I wanted to read it. And so then I went and bought Bigfoot Bill 1. And then I found, there's all these comic book creators that are doing independent comic books again on Kickstarter. Because I backed a lot of independent comics way back in the day on Kickstarter. This thing called Indiegogo, which I had heard of, but I didn't really know much about. And as I looked it up, and it's, oh man, well, Doug TeNaples doing Earthworm Jim now. Okay, well, maybe I'll back that. And then I think that was around the time when there was a falling out between those guys, and I saw how people were acting, and I was like, I have no interest in this. No interest in this. So I've seen I've seen, it's like it's hard to, depending on who you follow, you're going to see it every once in a while. But generally, I've culled my Twitter feed and my YouTube subscription, so I don't see much of it, if anything at all. And if somebody says those things in their thumbnail or their title of their show, I'm not going to watch it. Did you say open theist? Aside the confusion. I know he's a theist. I know he's a theist, that he believes that God exists. He believes in a personal God. And he's not a deist who believes in some, basically a God who's hands off on the world. The question is whether or not he believes God knows the future. Let's see. So that seems to be the barrier of adoption. For the privilege of an overpriced comics and trinkets, you also get the rabid fans. I don't know. I'm trying to think how many comics I've gotten that I thought were overpriced. There are ones that I got that I did not like, including ones that they were graphic novel sized with plenty of pages. And they're just like, oh, this is not good. I would generally say the only one where I was disappointed by the price point. Oh, there you go. Your interlocutor isn't also insults. Great. He's confusing omniscience with knowledge of the future. No, I'm not. I'm saying that part of God's divine nature is that he knows the future because he determines it. This is what I'm saying. He hates reformed people. Vox Day would say that I'm vile because I'm reformed, and I believe that God predestines all events that happen within time, but not to do violence to the will of the creature. It's in the Confessions, if you want to read it. So I have no doubt that Vox Day would view me as holding to a very evil position. I have no thanks, General. I appreciate that. I'm under no pretense that Vox Day would want anything to do with me based on the language that he has used in the past about people that hold to Reformed theology. I'm not confusing omniscience with knowledge of the future. He's making a distinction that he does not prove in my belief. The question is whether or not God knows the future. Does the Bible teach that God knows the future? I think undoubtedly it does. Now, within that, I think there is room for debate between people who would hold to a bare foreknowledge view, or even somebody like a William Lane Craig that holds to Molinism. I would say all those are, although I would not agree with them, certainly, I would say those are reasonable discussions that can happen within the church. But once you start to deny the essential characteristics of God, that he does know the future perfectly, he doesn't just have perfect knowledge of everything happening right now. Right, General. I gotcha. Well, yeah, Edwin. I mean, we could do another show on that where we talk about that. But basically, they say that God is so smart that he can look at the things, all of the knowledge that happens right now that he has at his immediate grasp in terms of present reality, and try to predict it, but that God has gotten prophecy wrong. that God has been wrong about what would happen in the future. Open theists come to that position and they say God has been wrong. Now, whether or not Vox Day thinks God has been wrong, generally open theists believe that. So that's what, if my understanding is correct, that's what they would say. So I think there is a place for debate about how does God know the future. There have been many theories put forth to talk about that. So obviously William Lane Craig would hold to a Molinist position that basically God knew all possible futures and he chose one of those futures to happen. Yes, but some open theists would say that God is not transcendent and outside of time and space. I don't know. This is not, again, when I'm talking about open theists in general, or saying some, I'm not necessarily saying this specific person believes this, but generally they would believe that God is bound by time. When he created, he became bound by time and is no longer transcendent in that same way outside of time. So, yes, God by definition can't err. That's my point. That's why I say open theism is heretical. Because we could have a debate about God's foreknowledge, about his sovereignty, about his decrees, and we could have that argument like many Christians have throughout the years. Augustine versus a heretic, but Augustine talked about that stuff. Anselm, obviously Luther and Calvin and Zwingli and Knox, and then all of the, on the other side, you have the Counter-Reformation. You have all of these people within the Christian tradition discussing these things for many years. And even to the degree where I think there are, I would not make a dividing line and say that it is heresy, a damnable heresy. Let's be specific, because heresy can just be understood to be false, believing something false. I would not say that it's damnable heresy to be an Arminian or to hold to some bare foreknowledge view. I don't think that is heretical. But once you get to the point where you're now saying God can be wrong about things, then I think you've gone too far. And that's what happens with open theism. Yeah. Sharon retracted a blessing? Oh no. Hearsay sounds like heresy. Coincidence? Uh-oh. Hearsay is supposed to be heresy in the court of law. Generally, this is why I can never do these types of live streams, these unstructured live streams on that Upon the Chaos channel, because then we could never go into all of these topics. People would start to dip out and they'd get mad and they'd leave. But I feel like here, we're all used to it by now. Me just starting talking about Disney and how Disney owned themselves, self-owned by Disney. And then we can be talking about open theism and God's decrees and what does it mean for God to be sovereign and free will and all of this stuff. And it's totally okay on this channel, but it would not fit on Upon the Chaos. I think people will be like, I'm out, unsub, I'm done. But everyone kind of knows what to expect at this point. It's not my fault you don't ignore me. That's true, General. But what I like about General Grudge, although we would have many disagreements, and the General likes teachers that I find absolutely terrible, and people that I find to hold terrible views, is that we're friends, and we can have friendly discussions about things, about disagreements, and not just get pissed off and cancel each other, and, oh, I hate that guy now because we had a disagreement online. No. Every time I see the word Canada in his videos, I think, is this the day I unsub? I mean, if you haven't unsubbed by now, I mean, I've mocked Canada in so many ways now. that, I mean, you're pretty much with me for life, aren't you, P Money? I mean, I would probably have to just go off the deep end and totally opposite of my personality for many of you to unsub. At this point, considering the things that I say and have said and will say that are in keeping with the traditions of this channel. One of the good the good things about having worked for a company, a video production company, and being on their podcasts and on their programs that they produced for television and otherwise, was that I have no hope of ever being accepted by the mainstream or by people who don't want people to espouse their beliefs, whoever those people may be. I'm already, I've said sometimes, I come pre-canceled. So anybody that's going to dig is going to find things of me saying things they disagree with. Oh no! My camera ran out of juice. It ran out of power. I didn't have it plugged in. We'll turn the saturation all the way down because it looks awful and I have no idea why. So we'll go black and white for a little while. I don't want to just have like these massive red lips like I've got lipstick on. That'd be terrible. That's why you have a backup camera, everybody. I mean, I could have had it plugged in, but it still loses battery when I run this app and have it plugged in to the computer. So I would have to go find a plug to plug it into my power strip here, which, I mean, I'd have to walk like 3 feet to get it. No, I don't think so, P-Money. I mean, basically, anybody that watches this for any degree of time is going to have to, yeah, General, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for asking Vox about that. Appreciate that. That way I can be accurate about what he says. I appreciate that because I have, until now, I went off of what he has said, not explicitly, and now he said it explicitly. So I do have that. I appreciate that. And thank you, as always, for allowing us to have an interesting conversation. But now, I mean, CNN's not going to put me on them. I found out that people were like, oh, he's in a group with Preston Poulter, like a Discord group with Preston Poulter. We must destroy him. I was like, what? I'm in lots of comic books Discords. I never go in there hardly ever. Discord as a social media platform or platform to interact with people, I don't find to be very good. I need to check on something. I'll be back. But I was like, I don't agree with Preston on everything. Oh my word. I don't agree with anybody on everything. Ugh. Very few people have I ever agreed with on everything. And that's only because I only interacted with them on like one thing. Yeah, I went in there and there was like one of the reasons why I left was because there's all kinds of images and things in there. Not, let me be clear. These are images of grown women because you have to clarify this stuff in this climate. The images that I saw in there were of grown women, adult women. And I was like, I'm not going to be in this. So no, man, okay. So that's one of the reasons why I rolled bail ski on that. But yeah, I guess some people were like, no, don't mess with him. He doesn't pay attention to this stuff. He doesn't. Honestly, I don't. Unless it happens to come up on my Twitter feed in like on the top 2 tweets or whatever it shows when I load Twitter, there's very little chance that I'm going to see it. I mean, even people that I follow, I don't read their tweets unless they're at the very top. And then vast majority of the time, I'm just like, meh. That's an interesting policy, Hervoge. I mute a lot of people that I just don't want to see the drama, but I want to, like even people I like that I mute because I have a Twitter conversation going with them. Or if I have needed to contact them about something, or I've wanted to contact them about something. Let's see. P Money says, I watch you mostly because we have similar taste in comics and movies. Okay. Generally, if I speak about something, if I talk about something, it's because I liked it and not because I didn't like it. The only time I've done, it's not the only time, but the most prominent time that I've done spent a lot of time on a review of something I did not like was Smoking Aces. I legitimately hate that movie and think it's terrible. And my review was totally mockery of it. The Island, I think, is fun crap. Like Michael Bay movies are fun crap. They're terrible, but they're also fun. So that was mocking it, but also celebrating its terribleness. But when it comes to other things, I generally talk about them because I've liked them or I have something interesting to say about them. Like I should say this. It's usually that I like them and I have something interesting to say about them. There are things that I like that I do not talk about because I don't have anything interesting to say about them. Like Otis Stein. I don't have much to say about Otis Stein, but I enjoyed the comic. I haven't seen Six Underground yet. Honestly, I do have a bit of Bay fatigue at this point. Exactly. People watch The Room because it's bad. People like bad movies. But Smoking Aces is nobody should ever watch it. It is terrible. It has no redeeming value whatsoever. It's awful. Legitimately awful. Now, there have been people that have asked me to review a comic. And if they specifically ask for me to do it, I will try to offer my opinion. But if you're like, oh man, I know he got that comic, but he hasn't reviewed it, it's probably because I either A, didn't like it, or B, liked it, but didn't have anything interesting to say about it. Joe Carnahan, I have no idea who that is. Look it up. Watch because Ruth likes you. There are some like Cecil that Ruth goes like, you still watch that drunk? Oh, Ruth. You're funny. I don't watch those guys. Honestly, like I don't think I've ever watched his channel. I watched Kelsey Shannon. He made some little like short film videos about him like cleaning his desk and stuff. I liked those. But generally I don't watch any of this stuff. As judged by like I used to go into Nasser. I still like Nasser, by the way. I don't have any problem with Nasser. I used to go in his live streams a lot because I liked when he talked about horror movies or things like that. Even though I don't like horror movies, I find it compelling to hear from people that like those kind of movies and why they like them and what they like about them. So I used to like to watch those. But whenever it was about drama stuff, checked out. And if you see me like tweet in somebody's drama stream or like post in someone's drama stream in the live stream, I was there for like 2 seconds. Joe Carnahan. Oh my word. You shut up. You shut your mouth, Hervoge. He's a terrible filmmaker. He made a terrible film. Apparently he made Smoking Aces. Ugh. I mean, let's listen to these great films he's made. Smoking Aces. The A-Team. Remember that classic? The Gray. Death Wish. Not the good one. With Charles Bronson. Back in the day. People like. No, the failure of a film. Barely made his budget back in box office. And most likely, on box office return alone, lost the studio money. Now, they have made their money back in sales in terms of video release and probably on demand and things like that. They've probably made their money back, but that was a big flop. 30 million, box office return of 49.6 million. Is that just domestic or is that worldwide? Might just be domestic. So it may have made. No, nope. That's both. Oh, that's rough. That's rough. Oh, man. He wrote a draft of Death Wish remake. Read a bit of it. Better than Roth. Didn't he direct it, though? I thought he directed it. Maybe I read that wrong. Let's go back. No, he just wrote the screenplay and Roth directed it. My bad. Eli Roth is also terrible. But he's directed Blood, Guts, and Bullets and Octane. Blood, Guts, Bullets, and Octane in 1998. Narc, 2002. Smoking Aces. Oh, jeez. The A-Team was his big shot. That was his big thing, man. His opportunity to break out of the B-movie ghetto. And it was not a great success. The Gray is great, actually. Come now. I'll get carried away. Yeah, I thought it was the Liam Neeson one. But wolves or something? Yeah, war against multiple packs of Canadian gray wolves. Oh, that made money. Good job. You had a success. Yeah. Anyways, I think it's a good time to end. We've had an interesting stream. What did Disney do this time? Well, they hired a Chinese woman named Chloe Zhao, who just won the Academy Award for Nomadland, the Academy Award for Best Director for Nomadland. They hired her to direct one of their Marvel movies. And they thought, man, we can pander to the Chinese Communist Party, so they'll definitely support our movie being released in their country, and we can score points with the diversity woke crowd, and and we can pander to the Chinese at the same time. But then Chloe Zhao got canceled by the Chinese Communist Party and their propaganda because she said something bad about China many years ago. So it's backfired on Disney, where it's possible they didn't release her movie Nomadland. The Chinese Communist Party seemingly has not allowed it to be released there yet. And given that they have now banned discussion of her on social media, it is possible, but we won't know for sure until it happens, that they will not allow Eternals, the Marvel movie that she's directed, to be released. We'll see. I think it's funny. Maybe it's 20D chess by Disney. They tried to play some 3D chess. Didn't quite work out for them. They got the 5D chess going so well that they have possibly just made it a huge tactical blunder. Yeah, you got to make sure when you hire those ethnically Chinese people who are, to make your films, you got to make sure that they're approved by the Chinese Communist Party if you want their films released. Feige said how Strange was supposed to be in WandaVision. Was he really? That was Doctor Strange was one of the biggest disappointments of the Marvel universe, cinematic universe, in my opinion. One of the most lackluster and mediocre films, where basically you had this mediocre film for the entire time, and then they had a semi-clever ending. And that was it. That was all. It was boy, was it a letdown. Not magical at all. For a movie about one of the most powerful magic users. Oh, Wanda's more magical powered now. Exactly. Everybody's another Tony Stark. They had a success with Iron Man, and then every single other character was like, we need him to be snarky. We need him to be funny and snarky. You notice they got rid of Edward Norton. Yeah, I think that Doctor Strange could have been done a lot better. A lot better. Honestly, it doesn't feel magical at all. It feels like just another one of their Guardians of the Galaxy or Ragnarok movies where they're like, space. And the end of WandaVision is the exact same, where it's like, it's not magical. You've just evolved into another fight with these bright lights flashing around. What's magical about that? I don't know. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is basically a huge, giant disappointment, and I don't have much interest in anything going forward. But this, well, it'd be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Disney's movie, The Eternals. See if it backfires or not. The history of how Marvel movies were in development hell is more interesting than MCU. I guess I'll read both instances because I have to read one to read the other. Hell, the history of how Marvel movies were in development hell is more interesting than MCU. Hey, don't do that. You'll be waiting a long time. I will say this. I am semi-interested in seeing if true this Tobey Maguire is going to be in the next Spider-Man movie. I'm halfway interested in that. That is halfway interesting. But that's not a Disney production. It's the Sony, and Sony will always constantly be making Spider-Man movies. And as soon as they think, we don't want to be part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and their deals are done, they'll just end it. Unless they, unless they've signed over the rights to that. Who do you have portray the chairman? Winnie the Pooh would be a good casting choice for that. Yeah, I've heard Alfred Molina as Doc Ock might be back. Honestly, when I saw those Spider-Man movies back in the day, I thought they were super boring. But I have been meaning to go and revisit them now in the wake of all these new movies and see if I like them any better. Because I like boring things a lot more these days. So it's possible that I'll like them more. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with Disney and Marvel. Honestly, at some point, if they don't substantially change up what they're doing, I don't know how much longer they're going to be able to make as much money as they are. Like, eventually, people are just going to get tired, right? If they don't make them substantially different. Sorry, I'm doing something here. A video of mine just debuted on Upon the Chaos. You guys should go watch it after I'm done streaming in like 1 minute. Let's bring back this. What? Yeah, I'm almost done, buddy. Went way longer than I thought I would. You're too tired of playing with your toys? Let's see, what toy are you gonna play with? Yeah, they'll just have to pick a lane on who they cater to, and I mean, it's too late. They're already well into production on the film, so it's not like they can just fire her at this point. So they got to hope that the Chinese Communist Party is willing to parlay. But there's certainly a question as to whether the Chinese Communist Party will let that movie actually play in China. All right, I think that is it for the day. If you guys liked this hodgepodge of topics in which we talked about all kinds of amazing stuff, yeah, we talked about China and Disney. We talked about comics and how I don't pay attention to comics book drama. And I don't care about Dan Slott. We didn't talk about that, but I'm adding. I don't care about Dan Slott or Mark Waid or any of these other people. I don't care about them. I don't read comics. I don't read mainstream comics, and I haven't for 10 years. Except on the rare occasion when when I happen to pick something up at a used store or for very cheap. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Let me go buy this one specific book to see if the whole thing is good. So that's usually something by like Peter J. Tomasi. Now I have read Aaron Lopresti stuff from like last year, but that's about it. Peter J. Tomasi and Aaron Lopresti stuff that he drew. So I'm a fraud. I'm a middle-class fraud. I have no credibility left. But honestly, I don't care about any of these people. I don't care about the culture wars of people who continue to watch things that they hate, continue to read things that they hate. Oh my word. What we need is to go back to the days of Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1. It was such a good game, and then Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2 was such a letdown. They changed the best parts of it. They changed the awesome things about that game. The second one was garbage compared to the first one. Still an okay game. Garbage compared to the first one. And I don't want to play X-Men Legends or X-Men Legends 2. I have them. They're not as good. I don't want to just play as X-Men. I want to play as all of these Marvel characters. I want to jump around and shoot with Deadpool before he got memed to death. And everybody's, oh, I love Deadpool. I've always loved Deadpool. I super knew who Deadpool was before this movie came out. This irreverent film came out. I knew who he was. I was a big fan of him before all that. And he's jumping around, and he's doing Merc's Revenge, and he's capping fools. I want to go back to that. The good days of Marvel games. Spider-Man, back in the day, PC, PS1, wherever you played it on. Matthew played a Spider-Man game that he liked. I don't know what game it was. Spider-Man 2, maybe. I don't know. But the Avengers game that came out, I watched gameplay of that. It looked so boring and so bland. And the cutscenes were so garbage. I know intention to play it. Now, I've not played Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man game, but I've heard that's okay. I've heard it's okay. But it's no Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1, which was a fantastic game. And if you haven't played it, I pity you. I feel sad for you. You need to rectify that. You need to make your life will be enormously enhanced. You will be overjoyed to play such a game as Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1, the first one. Oh, that's it. I think that's a good rant to end on. Adios, amigos.